Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Roger Johnson and Rachel Burden.
Good morning. Our headlines today. More than 100,000 over 80s in England have been invited to get their Covid jab at new mass vaccination centres.
The NHS is facing the most dangerous situation anyone can remember. That is the warning from Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty as he once again urges us to stay at home.
A need for strong enforcement. The Home Secretary backs plans to issue fines more quickly to those who break lockdown rules.
Good morning. Chorley hit the right notes in the FA Cup. The non-leaguers continue their dream run, knocking out Derby County to make it through to the fourth round.
Good morning. We start this morning with a few icy patches and some fog around as well, but it will be a milder day today. Some much needed mild air is on the way, and it's a fairly mild week ahead as well. But join me later for all the details.
Hello, good morning. It's Sunday the 10th of January. Our top story on the programme today, hundreds of thousands of people aged 80 and over are being invited to book their slot at one of England's mass vaccination centres.
Letters have been sent to those who live within 45 minutes drive of one of 7 sites which are due to open this week, as our health correspondent Ala Collinson reports.
There are already more than 1,000 vaccination sites across England, but the rollout is expanding further, with some of the most vulnerable now invited to receive their jab at a mass vaccination centre. More than 130,000 letters have been sent to elderly patients who live near one of the 7 sites, which are due to open this week. Around 1.5 million people in the UK have had at least one dose of a Covid vaccine, including the Queen and Prince Philip. Both in their 90s, the royal couple are in the main priority group, which consists of around 15 million people. But the NHS faces a huge logistical challenge, trying to vaccinate them all by mid-February.
OK, here we are.
From tomorrow, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine will become more widely available in Scotland, with its delivery due to be expanded to GP practices and centres across the country. So far, more than 70,000 vaccinations have taken place both in Wales and in Northern Ireland.
Sure, good. That's great.
But with fears the current wave threatens to overwhelm many hospitals, the race is on. The UK is now just one of 5 countries in the world to record more than 80,000 coronavirus deaths.
It's just really bad news. And the thing with hospitalisations is that we've seen, like especially in London, the NHS is already overwhelmed, and the people who are going to need hospital over the next 10 days already have COVID. So we know, just because case numbers have been going up, that number is going to keep going up every day.
Mass testing is one way to stop the virus spreading. In the coming days, all local authorities in England will be able to provide rapid community testing, including to people who have no symptoms. But many are critical about the accuracy of these tests, and scientific advisors argue only tougher lockdown measures will bring the more contagious variant under control once and for all. Anna Collinson, BBC News.
Well, despite the rollout of the vaccine, England's Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty has warned that the NHS faces the most dangerous situation in living memory.
And this comes as the Home Secretary defends the way the police have handed out fines during lockdown, saying there is a need for strong enforcement. Let's get more on this from our political correspondent, Nick Eardley. First of all, Nick, very strong words from Chris Whitty today.
They are, Rachel. Morning. We've heard quite a lot from politicians, haven't we, about how worried they are, but I think there's a feeling that they need to get the medical experts out there as well, really hammering home the message to us all about how severe the situation is just now. That's what you're getting from England's Chief Medical Officer. He's written a piece for The Times where he basically says that the NHS, if the virus continues to increase as it has been, could be in real trouble very soon. And he's warning that that has real implications for people getting care, for the number of doctors who can help each patient, and that ultimately, if that happens, it will lead to unavoidable death. So it is a pretty stark message from Chris Whitty this morning. The big question is, what do you do? What do you do next? And the feeling in government, although you heard in Anna's piece there that there have been some calls for further restrictions, maybe even further tightening the lockdown in England, there is also a feeling that we're going to hear more about compliance and urging everybody to follow the rules that are already in place.
And another of the issues is policing of the lockdown. We spoke about it yesterday on this programme, but the Home Secretary has been backing up police forces who've been handing out these fines. Tell us more.
Yeah, so Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has been saying this morning that basically it's important that the government still, that the police still have the ability to hand out fines, that there are some people who are breaking the rules and there needs to be that ability to crack down on them. And again, from her, you're hearing that message that if people don't follow the rules, if there isn't a crackdown on people who are breaking the rules, then ultimately that will cost lives as well. And I do think that compliance issue is one that's really worrying people in Downing Street. It'll be interesting to hear if ministers start saying that. You know, there's a real reluctance to criticise the public. It's been a really hard year for a lot of people, and you know, a lot of people have had to make big sacrifices. But the view in government is that at the moment too many people are finding loopholes and ways around the rules, and that needs to be tightened up.
Thank you very much. That's Nick Eardley in London.
Away from the pandemic and over in the United States, impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump will begin tomorrow.
The president has been accused of encouraging his supporters to storm the Capitol building in Washington. Our North America correspondent Peter Bowes reports.
The images that shocked America and the world. Video and photographs that are now being scrutinised by the authorities to bring those responsible to justice. This man, dressed in a bearskin headdress and carrying a 6-foot spear, was among those that stormed the US Capitol and gained access to the Senate chamber. Prosecutors say he's Jacob Chansley, a prominent follower of the baseless conspiracy theory QAnon, now in custody on charges that include violent entry and disorderly conduct. Adam Johnson was pictured carrying the lectern used by the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. He's now in custody in Florida.
Hello, Patriots!
Protests for and against Donald Trump have continued this weekend. Heavily armed supporters of the president gathered in Minneapolis.
We want Donald Trump to resign!
While in Chicago, opponents of the president rallied outside the city's Trump Tower. In Washington, there's now intense security. The National Guard is on patrol around the Capitol, where Joe Biden will be inaugurated as the nation's next president in 10 days' time. Donald Trump has said he won't be there, but the Vice President Mike Pence and his wife do plan to attend the ceremony. In the meantime, Democrats plan to move forward with a second impeachment of the president, starting on Monday.
It was an act of sedition that was incited and encouraged by Donald Trump. And that's why he must be held accountable to the full extent of the law.
The claim in the draft articles of impeachment is that Donald Trump's behaviour gravely endangered the security of the United States. But some Republicans think the process could fuel further unrest. Others argue there simply isn't enough time.
I've got enough decisions to make about things that can happen rather than to spend time on things that can't happen.
If the House of Representatives votes to impeach the president, the earliest the US Senate could begin a trial of Mr. Trump is January the 20th, the day he's due to leave office. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, meanwhile, Apple has suspended the social networking site Parler from its App Store after accusing it of allowing posts that incite violence. Google's already suspended the app, which is popular with supporters of Donald Trump, following that storming of the Capitol building in Washington last week.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.